I built a clothing brand at uni with no experience, and here's how. So when I was 21, I started my swimwear brand. I had the idea during COVID, and it actually took like a year from the idea to when we actually launched. So essentially that is just because it is a swimwear brand. It takes time to get your patterns made, get your samples made, and find a factory and find fabric. So I personally thought I could try and make the patterns myself at the beginning. I would definitely say you could give it a go, but it's not easy, and I would recommend you hire someone for that. So you could find freelancers on Upwork or on Fiverr, or I just got recommended someone through my factory. I got the patterns made up. I just sent her loads of designs I liked on Pinterest, and we had a video call of what I wanted. And then I got the samples made up at a factory. Now, the first factory I went with to get the samples made was actually awful, and they didn't understand anything of like my vision or what I wanted, and it just ended up being a complete waste of money. So expect things like that to happen. But when I got with my second factory, we gelled really well, and they already knew the pattern designer that I was speaking with, so it was quite easy to get those samples made up. And then it was literally just me trying on the samples and giving feedback to the pattern designer of what I wanted. And we probably had around three or four samples before we had the final design, and that took all together about a year. This was kind of near COVID year. I was also still at uni going on my year abroad, so from my side and from the side of like them being made, it made it slower, and I'm sure you probably could do it quicker, but that's kind of how it worked for me. There are a lot of people that do advice, and like there's advisors and consultants for this, and if you want to spend more money, it's probably worth it doing that. And it depends. I probably spent less doing it myself, even though I lost money, but you could just not waste the money and have an advisor or consultant help you out. But I just decided that I just didn't have much money, so I did it all myself. A year later, we then launched. So once you've kind of got all your designs made and you kind of know what you're doing there, then it's time to launch. And as anyone who probably starts a clothing brand with no experience doesn't know, you need to learn marketing. And so I just kind of launched and assumed, not really assumed, but just thought, it will just start working. And it doesn't really. You kind of have to learn some sort of marketing. So I know back when I launched and like the years before, a lot of it was based on influencer marketing, and I expect a lot of people still think that now. I've spoken to some people who say, I know this person with this many followers, and I know this person, and I'll just gift it to all of them. And that's really good, but that doesn't give you consistent or sustainable sales, and it also might not even give you a single sale. As much as 100,000 people who follow this influencer might see this post, that doesn't mean any of them are going to buy it, especially since now everyone's caught on more with the fact that when an influencer posts, they might have been paid for it or gifted it, and they don't know if it's actually legit. So I would say just be careful with that. It's a great way to start, especially with gifting. It's cheap, but just be wary of that. I personally would recommend learning ads, and so I started with learning Facebook ads. I learned them all myself. I don't have an agent that does the Facebook ads still now, and it's a lot easier now to do your own ads. So I would definitely recommend looking on YouTube and figuring out how to do them yourself. You can do Facebook ads, Google ads, Pinterest ads, TikTok ads, and it's just a much more sustainable way of you put your money in, and if you do it well, you can get your money back out. You're not really like wondering if it's going to pay off. Like you could pay an influencer £1,000 and you don't actually know if it will generate any sales, whereas you could put £1,000 onto Facebook, and if you do it well enough, it will. That being said, at the beginning, when you launch these ads on any of the platforms, it takes time for your kind of like ads to work and your pixel, as they call it, to kind of get to know you and get to know your customer. So you will lose money in the first month. That's normal, and that's kind of the investment you have to put in. So yeah, when I launched, I was living in Mexico, and I was trying with organic, with reels and things, but because my account was made when I was in Mexico, it was just pushing it to a Mexican audience, which was fine, but it wasn't really the UK audience I was looking for, where I was sending out those products. So I would say ads definitely helped me there because I could target who I wanted. But if you are just starting out and you don't have the money to spend on ads, I would 100% recommend just getting on TikTok and get on Instagram, organic, and just trying to get as many organic pushes as you can, trying to go viral. There's like loads of ways you can learn that online too, and it's literally just practice. So yeah, I would recommend those two things. When I finished uni, so I still had one more year of uni left after that, and that was just slowly growing, me posting on TikTok, me posting on, me doing Facebook ads, and it grew and grew. And we had our biggest sales day in April before I graduated, which was amazing. And it also meant that I could go full time when I graduated uni, which was crazy too. We weren't that big then, but it was big enough for me to be able to go full time. And when I did that, I moved to Colombia for 2 months because I wanted to work remote. And when I was there, I was really focusing on the organic growth. So I posted, I learned that you can post on TikTok and still get growth if you have the SIM card of your home country or wherever you want to kind of go viral. So I was posting 3 to 4 times a day on TikTok when I was living in Colombia and building the organic growth there. Also running ads, but I felt really stuck of how I wanted to build the brand and how I wanted it to become more of a brand than just Facebook ads, just TikTok viral, and how it kind of would have influencers in it and how the community would grow and everything like that. And when I looked online about what to do kind of when you get to a certain stage and you're kind of stuck, a lot of people said to find a mentor. So I did some research and found someone on LinkedIn that I thought would be really good as a mentor, because a lot of people said you don't want it to be in exactly the same field of area as you. So I found this girl who actually was, first of all replied to me on Instagram, which was amazing, and said that she was super busy building her brand, but she recommended me her friend who just started a consulting business. And so I reached out to her, and that is how I got my consultant, and we've now been working together over a year, and it was one of the best things. And I say like it was luck, but also it's not luck when you look for it. So you'll find the right people, it just takes time. So when I found my consultant, and that definitely changed the game. Also during this time, we're working with a factory in England, but they couldn't quite keep up with our demand. We were selling out a lot, and they were asking for an upfront payment, and then it would take 2 to 3 months for them to make the swimwear that we wanted, and it was unsustainable. We weren't able to afford it at the beginning, but have to wait to be able to sell it 2 months later. We did start with a pre-order basis, where like they paid for it, and then it was 4 to 6 weeks, and that was helping us. But by this point, we needed to move factories. We needed a factory to be able to make the quantity we wanted in a shorter amount of time, and to be able to do upfront, 50% upfront and 50% on delivery. So that is when we found our factory in Portugal. I went to go and see them, and I thought it all looked really good. And as with any factory move or any new thing, there are teething problems, and I will admit, like, it wasn't completely the smoothest thing ever at the beginning, but we got better, we learned each other, the communication got better, and so right now, like, I'm so glad we made that move. I'm super grateful to have them. And so now we had more swimsuits, and I had my new consultant, and we were able to scale so much more. And that's when we started doing some of our shoots in Bali with higher quality content, less just of me, but more of girls. We did some more influencer marketing, and it all kind of went like that, and it blew up. And in April, so the year later, we had our next highest sales day, which was like 7 times as big as the last one, and it was absolutely crazy. And then that summer, I started doing more events and more branded things. So we did an influencer holiday that we went on to Menorca, and it just meant we could get incredible content and loads more people could see us. And since then, we've also done more community events and had events with our community, and it's just made us a much more rounded brand than just being a brand that just posts me, basically. But I think that's also a thing to remember. That's how we grew in the beginning, and so I'm still very much a strong part of the face of the brand, because that's, I think, one of the reasons why we grew so well. That's basically how I've grown my brand to where it is right now. So in 3 years, coming this April, we'll be running, and I must say, like, I'm sure you could grow your brand much quicker. It just takes time when you don't know what you're doing, and if you had an advisor, maybe it would help. / if you went at uni for some of those years, it probably would help. But yeah, you can definitely do it consistently for a year and be able to go full time, which is incredible. You just do need to have like a good product and a good niche, and not just be the exact same as everyone else. I'd say it's a good way to stand out. But my key tips would be to get some good content, even if it's just on you. My first ads and everything were literally just me behind a camera, and they worked. And to run some ads, or at least try to run ads, and also to focus on content on socials to try and go viral. But yeah, that's basically how I started my clothing brand and how I've got it today, of it being in a really good position and me being able to be full-time and scaling it a lot more this year. So yeah, I hope that helps, and if you have any questions, let me know.